I know who the Boko Haram are. And remember the words he used.
He said he knows.
He knows them. He knows where they are. They can bring about an end to the suffering of the people of northern Nigeria in Maiduguri area, and the Boko Haram will be history. 100 days. We are now 6 years past. We are 6 years past. Buhari still wears his garbs and walks around the African Union telling us that he's worth a leader. What type of leader is this? Who cannot solve? If the problem of Boko Haram is too much for Mr. Buhari, why hasn't Mr. Buhari brought this problem to African Union or to the United Nations Security Council? Mr. Buhari was given advice, and the African Union and Americans and other agencies, European Union, wanted to intervene in the problem of Boko Haram, just as we did on AMISOM in Somalia. Mr. Buhari told us to show that Buhari has a hand in Boko Haram because he uses them. He uses them. Now, this is a crying African. I don't mind what you want to do or what you do. This is a crying African. And I'm crying for this Africa. You might be using Boko Haram to kill Nigerians. Because surely, what type of president is this? Who cannot bring a solution to the African Union Peace and Security Council to discuss the issue of Boko Haram? Americans wanted to come in to give him more arms. He did not want. The Boko Haram syndrome has expanded in Niger, Mauritania, Cameroon, Chad, and all the neighboring countries. It is spreading. The nucleus is from Maiduguri in Nigeria. Mr. Buhari always goes out. They get the money from the oil, pump it out, bank it in the city banks. His wife has got an account of $2.5 billion. $2.5 billion. If you can look at that, that is not what we are after. We are after a very serious operation that this country must get rid of Boko Haram. The killings, whether you are killing a Fulani, whether you are killing an Igbo, these are Nigerians who are dying. We would like to call upon the government of Nigeria and the international community now to come in forcefully to help us to get rid of or bring up a mechanism, or ECOWAS to bring a mechanism on how to fight Boko Haram, which has defeated Mr. Buhari from fighting.
And also, yes, former President Obasanjo also mentioned that in his letter, and he says Boko Haram has menacingly ravaged the land, and in spite of government's claim of victory over Boko Haram, the potency and the activities of Boko Haram, where they are active, remain undiminished, putting light to government's claim. So he's telling Mr. Buhari, you've been lying about fighting Boko Haram, because if anything, Boko Haram has thrived under your leadership.
It is, because he uses them to kill the Igbos. It's a straightforward answer. You know, Africa needs Nkurumas. Africa needs Sekou Touré. Africa needs Amir Cabral. Africa needs Nasser, Haile Selassie, Obote, Nyerere. Nyerere would not accept this. Remember the war in 1967 in Biafra, when it broke up, Nyerere decided, Nyerere, Obote, Kaunda, and the rest of some African leaders recognized Biafra because they saw a lot of hypocrisy of General Yakubu Gowon. I was a younger man, not very young. My father took me to a conference where in 1967, where I watched delegates in Kampala. Most of you don't know why I am attached to Nigeria. Because the conference that silenced the war in Biafra was done in my country called Uganda in Kampala. One delegate from Biafra got lost. Up to date, that delegate, I don't know how the report went, but I was young. I listened to the reports that were coming out. The situation in Nigeria demands an international intervention. An international intervention in the sense that, one, time has come for the people of Africa and the international community to ask questions. Who supports Boko Haram? Who supplies Boko Haram? We might be having some external forces, namely connected with other countries that we see doing the same on Libya, north of Nigeria. It is very important, therefore, for us as Africans to sit back and review the situation in Nigeria. Therefore, Buhari is defeated. He can't run Nigeria. He's running pieces of no pieces of Nigeria. The country is falling to wrong elements. People are slaughtering each other. The Fulanis are killing the Igbos. They are trying to displace them forcefully out of the areas. The policies are not going very well. We have to speak up. Somebody has to speak up, and I am speaking up. Yes.
And dear friends, I really appreciating your voice tonight. And one of them here, Ejikeme Ibe, you're saying Boko Haram is a plot to siphon money away through an inflated defense budget. So that could be the reason why President Muhammad Buhari is not really interested in fighting Boko Haram, because as much as they keep on and they're posing a threat to the country, he has no reason to allocate money for defense of the country that later on gets siphoned and he gets through corruption.
Of course, as this happens, he's drilling the oil. He's taking the oil out of Nigeria to sell. But the people where he's taking the oil is poor. The conditions, people live on water. I have never seen in Kenya and Uganda people living on water. On houses built on water. Surely huts built on water. This is Nigeria, where oil is being drilled on a daily basis, sold to merchants, mercantile merchants, France, Total Oil, which is one of my obstacles in Africa. That's why I refuse to watch AFCOM. I refuse to watch AFCOM because of Total Oil. How in Africa, in 2019, how on earth can we be sponsored by a foreign company called Total Oil sponsoring our football? Are we crazy Africans? We are very useless Africans. We're very useless. Total Oil behind Buhari. The French behind Buhari. Push on. Kill them. Threaten them. Slaughter them. If I show you the pictures, why I'm so upset is the amount of pictures, live pictures coming by phone from Enugu, Onitsha, Kano, Ibadan, all these areas, Port Harcourt, Lagos, all these areas. People are being slaughtered. People are being killed. People are being tortured. People are being taken out of their houses and cut in front of their wives. Younger men might not see light in Nigeria. They might not. They might not. The general youth population of Nigeria is going down because of the slaughter. We have to cry together as Africans. Wherever you are in South Africa, North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, cry together. Let's liberate Nigeria. Mr. Buhari is defeated.
Nigeria. Just another line here that I found very interesting in President Obasanjo's letter towards President Buhari. He said, and just an except in that, he's saying the unfortunate situation is that the criminality is being perceived as a Fulani menace unleashed by Fulani elite in the different parts of the country for a number of reasons, but even more unfortunately, many Nigerians and non-Nigerians who are friends of Nigeria attach vicious responsibility to you as a Fulani elite and the current captain of the Nigerian ship. So the fact that this has been perceived as an attack by the Fulani to the rest of Nigerians, and Obasanjo's letter seems to suggest that even these claims being very open, President Muhammad Buhari does not really care. The fact that he is a Fulani and these things have been directed towards Fulani, who are seen to be, causing mayhem across Nigeria, but he's been very reluctant to even come out and call out, even give a stand on this. So he's been very complacent in accepting that actually Fulanis are the ones who are meeting other Nigerians, with this level of, harm.
Before I answer that, our viewers right from Enugu is saying no light, no water, no medical, nothing, zero. This is a country that produces oil. It protects its oil. It has a population that consumes. They sleep hungry. They have nowhere to go.
And also according to United Nations statistics, it shows that Nigeria, being with all that oil and all that money and one of the leading economies in Africa, actually, it has the population of the most abject, poverty-stricken people in the world. That statistics still shocks me, not just in Africa, but in the world. Even us, we don't even have that oil, but we're better off than Nigeria. How does that even make sense?
Because the man produces it to give to his wife, to bank. The United States of America released a list, which I have, and I'll read it at the end of how many people on that list are from Nigeria. Very many. Where do they bank? Where does Dangote bank his money? He doesn't bank it in Nigeria. He banks in the city bank. Does he help Africa? No. We have a problem, and that mentality among Africans must change. We have a very huge problem that is killing Africa as we speak today. Therefore, the situation in Nigeria, the human rights, the army killing civilians, torturing and slaughtering, shooting, carrying civilians on trucks, dead bodies, cut in different ways. I can't, oh my God, I cannot explain here. I cannot show these photographs. I am not going to keep quiet. I am not a Nigerian. I feel for the people, the Biafran people, the people being killed from both sides of the conflict that has been instigated, supplied, manufactured, and equipped by General Buhari himself.
And just as we wind up on this letter by the president, he said towards the end that to be explicit and without a equivocation, Mr. President and General, I'm deeply worried about 4 avoidable calamities. So let's just look at the 4 points that Obasanjo has addressed to, President Buhari. Sorry for that. And the first one, he has abandoning Nigeria into the hands of criminals. So he says President Buhari has abandoned Nigerians into the hands of criminals. The second point, spontaneous and planned reprisal attacks against Fulanis, which may inadvertently or advertently mushroom into a program of Rwanda-type genocide. So that is where he's worried that Nigeria is actually sinking into genocide slowly. And the third point is similar attacks against any other tribe or ethnic group anywhere in the country, initiated by rumors, fears, intimidation, and revenge, capable of leading to a program. So even you've been watching his followers, even some politicians allied to President Buhari, they've been making very careless statements, but the government has not been holding them to account. So he's worried. So that is the point number 3. And number 4, violent uprising beginnings from one section of the country and spreading quickly to other areas and leading to the disempowerment of the country, and yet the government is doing nothing. So I don't know what will be your thought and response to that, Doctor.
First of all, it is true that the country is left to the hands of cartels and bandits, gangs, criminal gangs. Yes. Obasanjo is correct. Obasanjo is one of the few democratic men in Africa who surrendered the power and went back and became a civilian and contested. He might not be good. Me and Obasanjo, we disagree, but on this one we have agreed. Obasanjo, Kofi Annan, and the rest of that we don't agree. Every meeting that we go, where Obasanjo, the late Kofi Annan, and some Africans, that Nana Kofi and Nana of Nigeria, of Ghana, we disagree. because I am plain, straight talking East African, Pan-African. Most of these guys, Obasanjo and the rest, pocket money from the French intelligence systems to talk. You know, Obasanjo is a life chairman of Alcatel. A life chairman of Alcatel in Africa. They work together to take money out of Africa. But mine is straightforward. Obasanjo has never convinced me since he let down Taylor. Obasanjo persuaded Taylor and let Taylor to be taken by the ICC. I have never forgiven Dr. Obasanjo, General Obasanjo. Every meeting we meet, anywhere, we clash. And when he sees my hand, he has to go to the toilet, then come back. Because I tell him off. He's a very good elder, an African elder, but he has got very bad manners on money.
On this letter, he's right.
On this letter, the first thing, the only thing, history has ignorated him, is writing this letter. This letter, which I'm going to take very seriously. Crossover. Nigerians, Biafrans, don't think I've given up. Look at this face. If I am killed on the way, look after this face. Remember me. I am not going to give up. I am going to seek and ask the British government why they are quiet. I am going to ask from another international aspect in this week coming why there is silence when people are being murdered.
Silence of conspiracy.
Yes, a conspiracy of silence. Silence, silence, silence. Look at the conditions that are in Nigeria. Can human beings live here? The oil is being taken every day. Look at the pillage, people taking whatever they want. What type of life is this in Africa? How can Africa sit and watch? How can AU, before you leave, the role of African Union? Because coming in next is an ambassador at large who will tell us what is the African Union doing. This problem is all over Chad, it's all over Cameroon, it's Burkina Faso, Niger, all the states of the Sahara region. It has spread. I would like to know what African Union is doing, because the peace and security would take this report so that we avoid the Rwanda situation. Kenya is a member of the security and the peace and the security of African Union. I would like to question, you don't gag me. I will ask whether here or anywhere, I will gag you and bring chaos for you to answer to that public. Why African Union peace and the security has not talked about the killings in Biafra?
Yes.
Why? Why don't we see anything on the agenda of African Union? And then we see Mr. Buhari wearing his garbs, walking tall high in Niger Niamey. He controls a banditry army that is killing people on a daily basis. And he threatens people. Anybody who talks is a terrorist. Anybody, come. I'm not a terrorist. I'm talking as a human rights activist. It is me who stood with Osuji. Osuji, the judge. We stood together in London and campaigned for that Obasanjo to be released. When Obasanjo, Chief Abiola, and another gentleman who died, the one in the Delta region, he died in prison. He was sentenced. He was killed. Chief Abiola died. Abacha killed Chief Abiola.
Sani Abacha, yes, the former president.
That Obasanjo, I was standing on Nigerian High Commission every Friday. Myself, the judge Osuji, the current judge, and Osuji, shame on you. You have ashamed me. You are now the presiding judge of the International Criminal Court, and you have allowed your own people to be killed. When we stood at that Nigerian embassy, High Commission in London, every Friday in the cold winter, trying to make sure that Abacha releases these guys. Now you have gone, you have become a full judge, you have allowed the killings to take place, and without any recommendation.
Yes, and all the killings are taking place, and the Nigerian government, or President Buhari, purportedly is trying to contend with that matter of Boko Haram. He's also now created another controversy, and that is the Ruga settlements, and many have also slammed it as a further confirmation of President's alleged plan to Islamize the country, an ever-present allegation lessly dismissed by the federal government. So,
can you imagine a state where Biafrans, when they got north in Kano, they are told to go back home? Where is their home? Biafrans are told to go home. Hello? Is this Africa that we want? They are in Nigeria. It is like you going from here to Turkana, and you are told to go back home. And yet you are in the same country. That is the situation in Nigeria today. That is what is happening on the ground. We have reports here of people doing it, tapes, videos. We don't speak without evidence. One thing I've shown, I will never speak without evidence. And my evidence is not Jichopev, like the evidence that someone is manufacturing in offices and annex offices here, letters, and getting young men to manufacture evidence. I don't. I speak with evidence, real, from the ground. Because I have a network. A good network in Africa that can help Africa. Not fictitious Machiavellian and Nikolai Machiavelli policies of grabbing everything. You grab everything. You want to grab people's hair. Buhari and the rest of such people in Africa. You know they have killed our Africa. They have made our Africa not workable. The people of Biafra, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. The people of Amazonia, don't lose hope. The people of Central Africa, don't lose hope. There is a voice. There is a voice here. In me there is a voice. I'll speak until we get rid of this impunity. I'll speak until we bring sanity in Nigeria. We shall speak until human rights abuses stop. We shall speak until AU hears us. We shall speak. After all, we spoke and AU heard us. My 4 investigative pieces were well done. I am not coached. I don't sit on a table and they send me questions. No.
You speak under
some, yes, as it is. Some people have been sent questions, then they are pretending to be on TV. Rubbish. I don't sit and get questions. And I'm telling you, you can't take this name. It will be a battle. It could ignite things you don't know.
All right. No comment. You're saying, why was AU created in the first place? To serve whose purpose exactly? Their seemingly deliberate silence on issues concerning the genocide going on in Biafra land and Amazonia's what amazed me. And as Dr. has said, he'll be joined by our guest today, and I think they will elaborate more on AU's failure even in curbing, the genocide that is going on right now in Biafra land. Speaking about genocide, the second point, Mr. Obasanjo there said that this, if not taken care of, might lead to a Rwanda type of genocide. And if we can recall history, the Rwanda type genocide really was ethnically, instigated. So is it this? Does this claim now go to legitimize the claim that has been, going around that actually it's Fulani against other tribes in Nigeria? Because if he's referring to the Rwandan genocide, that was ethnicity.
It is.
One tribe killing the other.
It is. Obasanjo has come out because he wants to wash his hands off. He wants to watch his van. It's Obasanjo who brought Mr. Buhari.
Then you see the Ruga settlements.
Yes. The type of Ruga settlement is the type of how people here chase others from their areas.
And take over by force.
By force. How do you see your house where you used to bring your 4 children? Someone is still taking There is what is all this? And the people are just bumping around these countries. That's what Buhari is doing in Nigeria. He wants to forcefully settle people, eliminate the one tribe, take away the ethnic group of the Biafrans, send them, kill them, then take over their land. The same policy is happening in some countries in Africa. Yes, there's one country where people are being told to leave.
Yes.
Then people come to take over their land.
Even here it has happened. I mean, to be honest.
Yes.
The people who fled away from their homes during the post-election violence in 2007, they've never been able to go back to their lands. So that
we speak because we have seen these conflicts. We have seen them work elsewhere. We have seen them destroy countries.
Terribly.
I speak from a background of my own country, Uganda, where things were so bad, destroyed, everything went down. Most of us here are still where we are. Look at us because of that conflict. Therefore, if you don't speak, then it means you have not spoken. Martin Luther said, if you hear something, if you sit and you don't say something, it means you are as much as guilty.
You're an accomplice, yes.
An accomplice. You must speak out. There is nobody who should gag people not speak about. These guys in Biafra were seeking one good thing. What were they seeking? A referendum.
Yes, they want to.
You can stagger the results of the referendum. Tell them we shall give you independence in 2032. They will agree and keep quiet. But you have refused them a referendum.
They've been patient long enough.
Yes, you have refused them a referendum completely. You don't want them to vote. Nigeria went to elections. 84 million people registered voters. Only 28 voted. Is that a government? Is that a government?
All right, Doctor, I do not want us to exhaust everything now, so may I beg to leave so that our guests can come and continue with this conversation?
Thank you very much, Miriam.
Our viewers.
If you have, you can read. There are many millions and millions of people worldwide. And I want to thank them that more is coming. We have the next